one do his thing. You see that bling, 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 bling. Hey.
Welcome back to the Ernest Faison Show. I hope that you're having a great summer, because I certainly am. It's a pleasure to be back into your living room. I'm joined by a gentleman who is coming with a different calling. And we know that everything is not always fair, but then we have soldiers and warriors out there who are going to try to make it do what it do. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the Executive Director of BLM Rhode Island, Black Lives Matter, Mr. Gary Dantzler. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you, Ernest.
Yes, you as well.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, everyone in the world is not trying to do the right thing.
Right.
And so we have to hold certain people accountable.
I agree.
And there are, for actions, there are reactions, and you have to pay the piper whenever you do wrong. And so it's a pleasure to have you on here. Why don't you start by telling people just a little bit about you,
Sure.
Where you're from, education, blah, blah, blah.
Sure. So I'm Brother Gary Dantzler, founder, executive director of Black Lives Matter Rhode Island. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and born and raised in New York. Came out here when I was young, 17, 18 years old. Moved to Pawtucket and been there ever since. And Rhode Island is pretty good. And the people here are really good too.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Before I even talk to, tell Will, by the way, I said give him a shout out. Before, put that camera back on me, please. Before I thought about actually doing this show, I had to make sure that I was coming from a very generic, organic place.
Right.
If you feel me on that. Oh, by the way, I just so happen to look like who? You. So it is imperative that I stay in the middle, but if one were to ask me about my narrative,
right,
then I would have to give them the narrative.
Gotcha.
But the questions that I ask are from John Q. Public, who are under the sound of my voice. So, you know, I toyed with it, and so now I'm here, and I feel like I'm in a good place with it, Brother Gary. So New York, what was that like growing up in New York, man?
It's like any other place, you know. I think it's an educational hub, you know.
Right.
When you grow up there, culturally, it's, you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm kind of glad I grew up there and grew up in Rhode Island as well. You know, it's been good on both sides. Yeah.
Right. How did you even begin to enlist yourself as far as maybe doing public service and BLM, Black Lives Matter?
So, yeah, so when you grow up in adversity, you know, you already have the magnitude, all right? You're built with this mechanism inside of you to be fair if you come from a good background, you know,
correct,
family, you know, family history, you know, learning about who you are at a young age, you know, and that was the great part about growing up in New York. It was like an education experience, non-stop, so to speak. So
had to keep your head on the swivel.
Yeah, if not, you get it
literally.
Exactly. If not, you get it knocked
off.
Yeah. So you know, when you grow up like that, to be humble and learn the things around you that you know, it could be vital, it could be great, it could be harmful. It's
right,
about the individuals. Yeah. So
that all makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess it all falls. You're watching PEG-RA-TV, by the way, the Ernest Faison Show. Float like a butterfly still, and I'm still stinging like a bee. That man right there is so bad, he's trying to make medicine sick. So we got Brother Gary on here, and he done a little list. He threw his hands a little bit. We'll get into that a little later.
Yeah.
But what I see is that everybody's got to be held accountable.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. And so with the African American experience, we all know that the NAACP is the grandfather of that. And so offshooting from that, you look at organizations like what has happened now.
I mean, you know, I have a great deal of respect for the NAACP. They're really monumentally, they mean a lot to the black and brown, even in the white community. They played a huge role, especially in the civil rights movement and et cetera, et cetera. But you know, when you talk about violations, that it's only a lot that they, you know, enough that they can do and what they couldn't do even back then.
That's right.
Because it wasn't enough organizations starting back then for a lot of pain that was, you know, that the African Americans endured. You know, so I'm so glad that the NAACP came through at the time they came through. It was huge. And I think it was a lot of action on that in the South and the East Coast, but mainly certain things happened in the South that didn't happen up north. They happened, but it's not as frequently, from what I understand.
That's true.
So.
And even like from where I'm from, the Wilmington 10, I'm going back to Dr. Benjamin Chavis.
Right.
You know, who was later on part of the NAACP.
Right.
Like you said, I appreciate what you said up north and down south. People don't even know about the Wilmington 10.
No, because education, right?
Correct.
Again, that we were taught at a young age about certain players and certain demographics, about how, you know, civil rights and how it inquired and how up north it was totally different. Right, because it started in the South, you know, because mainly the slavery at the 13 colonies was a huge part about education, and it was really ramped from under us, you know. So most of the stuff that were really bad and horrendous happened in the South.
Correct, that's true.
So
let me fast forward.
Sure.
Black Lives Matter.
Yep.
My understanding is, and I was reading some of your bio, it started in 2013. Is that correct? The Trayvon Martin thing.
Yeah.
George Zimmerman.
Right.
And from there, it just mushroomed into more things.
Right, but I think it goes back, not to just to Trayvon. It's a long history of
Mike Brown, Eric Gardner.
Right, the list goes on.
Unfortunately, the list goes on.
Right, and when you study the behaviors of America like we do, you tend to look around and say, wow, you know, I don't know, I don't want to sound like a, you know, like a racist or a person that's have the power to change the demographics around. They don't change. You can't. You basically want to change yourself, because you got to change. You can't change no one. You got to change yourself first to be like.
But they say you can take the boy out of the country, can't take the country out of the boy. It's true.
It's very true.
It starts with moi.
It starts with yourself.
Yeah, that's true now.
To make a change.
Absolutely true.
So Black Lives Matter was really formulated, and when my friend had got murdered by police officers with his daughter, a 3-year-old daughter, in the front seat of the car, and they shot him and then killed him in North Smithfield for I think it was a thing of Similac milk. It was a container of Similac milk.
What year was this?
This is 2000, like, I want to say 2006 it might have been.
Okay.
That he got murdered in North Smithfield by the North Smithfield police. And the guy killed him and shot him. He was trying to get away, and he just, you know, stole some Similac milk for his daughter. And they murdered him with his daughter inside the truck at the time. And I was just like, wait a minute. And he's a white gentleman too. So I said, you know what? I think there's so many cases where police officers using excessive force and not being reprimanded for.
Which is the perfect segue, speaking about the George Floyd thing. And my understanding, and you've got more knowledge, obviously, because you've been doing this longer, as far as the BLM, Black Lives Matter, Rhode Island.
But I think, not to cut you off,
go ahead.
I think that you might have a little more, because you might be you from the South, you've seen some things that, you know, that probably didn't agree with you, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, well, for me, I have been ex-military, and I've lived almost all around the world. 15 years out in Hawaii. You're watching PEG TV, the Ernest Facing Show. I hope that you're tuned in. And put your big boy pants on, because this is hard hitting. We're not faking the funk. I got brother Gary Dantzler here. and he is coming with fire and brimstone. He's not blinking. He's coming with the real. And it's important that we come with the real, because really it's sad that we have to have organizations like Black Lives Matter, or White Lives Matter, or Japanese Lives Matter. All lives matter, but that is not to say that we don't matter. So man, inhumanity to man, really.
Right, but I think that I can't sugarcoat it, this color thing in America. And I think that when we say Black Lives Matter, we're saying we're over here. We have more than an extensive 500 years of being abused in America, but also now it's time for them to look at the problem and really address this problem.
Yes.
And you have to use words that are really conflicting to them to make them understand, and meaning America. It doesn't mean a white or black thing. It's just that most of the Europeans have more power than black, and that has to do with economics.
Right.
And it goes right, and it goes back to education. It goes back to where you live at, what's your Social Security. There's a huge part of America that made money off of this black and white thing. So you have to understand that it's demographically it changed a little bit right now, but its focus is the same.
Yeah, and we look at people like DeSantis there in Florida,
right,
who's trying to make it go back that way,
right,
and trying to pretend that actually Black Lives Matter or black people were never really here,
right,
or that some kind of way that because of slavery you learned the stewardship of marketing,
right,
etc., which is ludicrous.
Right, and again, that's their narrative where white supremacy, they don't really practice. It's like a person who doesn't study for a test, and they wonder why they flunked on a test, because the history shows you have to study for a test. And dealing with people like that, it's a mockery of America to say this is the history, to say, hey, this is what happened. There's no, like saying, like basically there's no history of black people being slaves in America.
Yeah.
But when you look around, you go, wow, a lot of people couldn't make that. They couldn't do this. They couldn't. Yeah. So I understand the significance and the power and the reconstruction of America.
Of course. And those who are educated don't realize that the word ghetto really comes from Europeans. There were a lot of Europeans who were enslaved, so not just black people.
Right.
I mean, that's why I keep going back to man's inhumanity to man.
Right.
So you get that.
No, I definitely get it. But, again, when you talk about the structure of certain humanity, right?
Yes.
There's a huge difference when you dealt with slavery to rape to murder. There's a demographic history that's been proven how horrendous it was for black people in America.
Agreed. And this is, I'm not gonna say this is hard for me to talk about, because I give everybody, Bill and Holly both know, I give everybody a shot.
Right.
I stay in the middle, but it's really, for me to do this work, Brother Gary, I got to be all inclusive. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Absolutely, same here. I think it's, with people like me, it's transparency.
Yes.
And we have to be fair with people.
That's right.
Prior to that, you called me, and I said I was at the court trying to help a family. And I said, let me squeeze, or I'm gonna go by, because I heard it in your voice. You're a highly intelligent man that really, that's in the community, so we have to honor that. And it's an honor being here to working with you.
And well said, nice choice of words. And this is not a show, please put the camera back on me. This is not a show, ladies and gentlemen, on black people, white people, green people. This is a show on injustices which have been done, and this man is articulating. That's why I'm gonna move and pivot to another spot.
Right.
We talked about the injustices.
Right.
Now we're gonna speed it up, and we're gonna talk about all the wonderful things that Black Lives Matter offers, such as technical career development,
right,
prison reform. I need y'all to hear me now. Don't go to the bathroom, sit right there.
That's right.
Prison reform, poetry readings, library membership, self-help groups. You were Olympic boxer qualified.
Yeah.
Mama said knock you out, I'm gonna knock you out.
Yeah, so growing up in New York, it was a trade, right? You know that it was a trade, meaning like you had to learn a trade, right,
Yeah.
at a young age. And I think that God gives people certain gifts with things, and I think He gave me one was to really have the sound of speed. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty quick what I did, so I learned the trade of boxing and fighting to get out of my environment.
Right, and you come up well.
I think I did okay. I think you know.
How they say that boy good? You ever heard that?
Yeah. I think that you know, when you grow up in that environment, and at a young age, remember 7 brothers and 4 sisters, so you know our imagination was really big.
So I see some other things here on your bio, pretty impressive actually. Self-defense trainer, you taught law enforcement there in Pawtucket.
Yeah, I did, and at CCRI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a certain discipline with the martial arts?
Grappling, probably a little bit of grappling, but mostly
throwing hands.
Throwing hands probably was one of the things in the 90s was like it was self-defense, meaning like boxing was like huge, and it still is. I don't know if it is today, but in the law enforcement at the state police barracks, and you know, I think boxing is the first defense.
Yeah, it is. But the fact that you were so decent at your craft that they actually enlisted you, that speaks volumes to you. Some other things, and I saw this on TV that I thought was very, very good, and a feather in your cap. Obviously, the weather was really bad and cold earlier this year. How you guys opened up the warming station.
Right. So
humanity.
Right. So I think that we get to a place where you watch things around you to help people and genuinely help people. And I think that's what probably happened when I saw that happen. And I didn't, you know, like again, Black Lives Matter, Rhode Island, we don't care about what color, what race, we don't.
Say that again, please.
Yeah, so Black Lives Matter, we don't really care about race, right? Because when you live in Rhode Island, you live around the world, you live places, people, you got to understand the demographics, what we're dealing with. It's the opposition is the people that see race. They see the problem and to the social justice and color, and there's those barriers because certain individuals are racist and still have a systemic way of thinking about black people.
Right.
So those are our barriers.
Correct. And I flip that back on the other side.
Right.
And vice versa.
Right.
Ignorance comes in all different pigmentation.
Absolutely.
And we ain't trying to do that. But what we are trying to do is let you know you're watching PEG, RITV, the Ernest Facing Show. Please, please, please gravitate toward what we're saying, because this is heavy, this is deep, this is real, and this ain't going nowhere. And this brother's in it to win it, and his heart's in the right place. Also, I see where the COVID, you helped with 200,000 vaccines.
Yeah, so in my building, we at 225 Main Street, downtown Pawtucket, I have a building, and that we service the community.
Yes.
And one of them is that, you know, when COVID hit, we were still giving out shots, giving out diagnoses, and we were one of the hugest parts of Rhode Island giving out these shots to the community.
Okay.
So it was a lot of people lined up down the street, and we were giving out, you know, the free shots to the community. Yeah.
So you spent a little time working with former President Barack Obama.
Yes, 2005.
What was that like working with Obama?
It was amazing. He had little hands and stuff, soft hands, but he was, you know, I thought he was.
He had little soft hands?
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah, I liked him. I thought he was extraordinary, and, you know,
they say one of the most intelligent presidents to ever serve.
There's no question. Yeah, probably the IQ. Amazing. I think that we're so lucky to have him at this pivotal time. I think he was amazing what he gave to the world, America.
Yeah.
And then what he gave to the world because the barriers of being, you know, the president. So
amazing to come over here in bondage and then end up being the most powerful man in the world.
The most powerfulest man in the world.
Yeah, and you know that went right up to certain people's you know what.
Right, and I think America liked it that because he was on one part half white and the other part he was half black.
Yeah.
So
He's a straight brother, though.
no,
Yeah.
I get it, but I'm saying to them that you know,
mulatto. Yeah, I
Right.
get it, and everything like that.
Right.
But that's a feather in your cap, is where I was going with it.
absolutely.
So also $1.5 million fines, court fines that you got rid of.
So yeah, so in the community, like I said, we're based on helping the community and servicing them. Like if they want, you know, people might come in and have
Sure.
a overpass, and we help out for little community events and things of that nature. But mainly, people struggle with court fines, so we opened up our doors a few times to the court to say, hey, listen, let's have court and get rid of some of these fines. So we joined hands in the community in a partnership with other community leaders, and we gave out, you know, we helped fines. We got so many, like almost $1.5 million, $1 million dollars of court fines, and we got rid of them. So it was pretty amazing.
You've told me where you started,
Yep.
where you are.
Yep.
Brother Gary, I'm gonna give you about a minute to look in that camera right there
Yep.
and do your narrative. Where are you going?
So right now, I want to continue this work in the community. I'm working with the Department of Labor and Training. This is my second previous time that we have a contract and an awardee letter to help out the community for job workforcement. And I'm honored to be a part of that. That's what we've been doing for a couple of years now. So we're trying to bring back jobs and fix up the homeless. So that's my plan for the future, is to continue this work in the community. And I got sick for a little while, but I'm back. You know, I got diagnosed with cancer.
Cancer, yeah.
Yeah, so
Are you cancer free now?
I'm cancer free, but they're keeping a wide eye out on me.
Excellent,
Really,
excellent.
right now, you know, I have stage 4 cancer.
Oh, stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they removed my prostate, had a couple of operations. And, you know, I'm strong. I'm mentally strong. I'm like you, Ernest, a soldier.
I'm just dealing with the hand that was dealt to me, man.
That's right.
I got some good folks
see.
over here who are big brothers over here who show me the way. You're watching PEG TV, the Ernest Facing Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not smiling too much today because these topics do not go away. We've got the director, Mr. Brother Gary Dantzler, who is the executive director, Rhode Island version for Black Lives Matter. Will, appreciate you for putting it together. I don't see this being the last time that I speak to this gentleman. This is all real. It's not just all about protests and everything. We've highlighted the fact that they do technical training, prison reform, poetry reading, library membership. So it is for the upkeep of humanity, of people of color. And I'm honored to have him on the show. We had a little bump in the road for a minute, but as it goes, we smoothed it out.
Yes, we did.
And that's actually turned out to be better, you know?
Right. I think your show is amazing. I think that we need these critical, pivotal points, and the community needs to be a part of things like this.
You know, it's a tremendous platform. I talk to Holly and Bill all the time.
Right.
The platform that I've been blessed with.
Right.
And it's not about me.
Right.
And I'm just a mouthpiece, but it truly is a part, and I'm glad the camera's back on me, it truly is part of my life's work. You know, you have to have a calling in life. And when I first got on TV, it's like, ooh, you're on TV. But then as you start to understand what the mission is,
right,
it's bigger than Ernest.
Right.
And to have people like yourself on.
Well, I'm honored, Ernest.
And, you know, it's humbling to me, really.
Yeah, I think that people gravitate to God's work.
Well, that's right.
And I think mainly that you serve, when people like you serve the community, you are, you know, held in a higher standard from people like me. So we appreciate your work and honor you.
You know, it's a blessing, man. I tell you, I just look back on some of my mentors, Mr. George Lima, who was a Tuskegee Airman.
Right.
He actually,
I met him.
Oh yeah, well you know about him?
Yeah.
He fought Joe Louis. He sparred with, he played football with Mercer Ellington, Duke Ellington's son. Passed the Fair Housing Act.
Yep.
Where people like we could live.
Right.
You know, I could just go on and on.
Right. He's a monument, you know, to people like me because, you know, he was also my mentor too.
Yeah.
And he you know, gave us inspiration. Like.
And how humble he was, though.
Right. Right.
You know, all these accolades that I just mentioned. He, no, Ernest, don't, no. But, and we did a movie about him. Black Men Can Fly.
Right.
About the Tuskegee Airmen.
And that's amazing because he told me that about 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, and I was the narrative voice.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, it's over my head. It's bigger than me, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm honored to be able to step in this place.
Mm-hmm.
How did Brother Harold Metz say? I'm drinking from the well that was already dug. And I thought that was an excellent play on words there, pun.
Right.
You know, as it were.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. What's time looking like there, Bill? We got 3 minutes. That's excellent. Now, I do want to also mention, put the camera back on me again, please. Back in 2013, there were 3 females, Elisa Garza, I want to pronounce her name right, Patrice Cullors, I believe, or whatever, and Opal Tometi. You know who those people are. Those were the original people who actually started the national, the national conclave, as it were. And just for them to have the vision, you know, and had to be strong because there were a lot, I'm sure, oppositions which were telling them, no, don't do it.
Right, and I think a lot of people were wrong at that time because, you know, when you say Black Lives Matter, I think that people get a little out of, because it's about generational wealth. It's about controlling the narrative for black people. It's really sad because we have to say Black Lives Matter because 400 years and 500 years of systemic racism, like when do we get a break off of that? You know, we didn't really get entitled to anything, and we still are not entitled to anything.
Well, you didn't get the 40 acres and a mule.
Well, it's a little more than that now.
Yeah.
I think education, again, goes back to education because of what we dealt with, and people don't realize that you're comfortable because I think that, you know, because you own a few homes don't make you comfortable, you know, and people still living in America that's really poor, under the poverty level, especially in Rhode Island. I think that when it comes to race.
And I really appreciate everything you said and that you being steadfast and unmovable. And I hope that this show has spawned something else that you will continue to run the race and that we clarified not only Black Lives Matter, but the education and all the different things that the prongs that you have that people need to understand. I'm getting ready to run out of time, but I do want to let you know, Brother Gary Dantzler, that any other time that you have some type event that you need to get out there, that we will extend this platform to you even as we speak.
Thank you so much for honoring me, for having me.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching PEG RITV. I enjoyed it. I hope you did, because we shot from the gut, from the root. Take care of yourself. It does, in fact, take a village. It's been fun, but I got to run. You've been watching Ernest Facing Show. God bless you. Until next time, we out.
Bling, 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 bling. He's a Rastaman doing his thing. You see that bling, 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 bling. Hey, laddie man. Some people have to hold the diamond ring. Driving around with spinning rims. Walking down the street in fancy things. But they really don't know anything. They just got bling, bling.